This better? This better? This is insane. Like your tires, tires are eventually gonna pop. Let alone anything else. Like the rubber's just gonna heat up, pop. Like this is insane. And what's even more insane is supposedly this may be legitimately all caused from mentally deranged people who are starting fires all throughout California. Like, this is insane. Completely insane. That's the real hell? Cry for the poor animals? I can't imagine. Okay. This is insane.
This was a hard video to make.
This guy has
there's a lot going on in California.
Lots of subs.
Wildfires. These are personal tragedies for a lot of families. Fires like the Palisades, Eaton, Hearst, and Woodley have destroyed thousands of homes, displaced families, and left communities struggling with loss. And the ripple effects of all of this go way beyond.
Why don't us guys make house with bricks? Before I go further into this video, one thing that I've seen, I don't know how true it is. I was talking to some of the guys at the gym. Is it over? No, it's still going on. That maybe in the future, new houses are going to be built out of concrete or steel.
And what we see on social media, every year, these fires rip through communities and they leave behind a trail of destruction and displace thousands of lives. Their story.
What's crazy is that wildfires happen every year in California, so like wildfires shouldn't be a surprise.
Of parents rushing to evacuate their children, firefighters risking their lives on the front lines, lost and hurt pets, families returning to find everything they owned reduced to ash, and it's all really heartbreaking. And I just want to say that there is no dollar amount that's worth a life.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, there is a reality to face because there is a financial cost that people have to deal with after the fire is put out, and those costs are going to be paid by the people of California, and they're going to be paid by the entire country.
Yeah.
So as the dust settles, I think people are rightfully angry because this keeps on happening every year, and it seems to just get worse.
Yeah, you want to talk about the biggest loser on the planet, or at least over here in America? It's going to be this guy, Gavin Newsom. Newscum, right here, Gavin Newscum. This is him. Just a complete fool.
It just get worse. Even though I personally don't live in California, I have friends that do, and they want answers for why this keeps on happening.
This guy, Governor Newsom, was blaming the leadership of California, and he is the leadership.
Why is the leadership of California prioritizing what it is over the safety of its own people?
Yep.
And why is their insurance cost about to go up? So in this video, I want to explain some of what's going on, why this happened, and what the real cost will be.
Okay.
So with that said, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well, and I hope you guys are safe out there because the 2024 wildfire season has been one of the most destructive years on record. Now, before I show you, keep in mind, when I say the word acre, it's a lot of land. An acre is 43,560 square feet. It's hard to believe, but...
Yeah, no one can stop nature, and unfortunately, it seems like I said, it seems like they're mentally disabled or mentally not sound people starting a bunch of wildfires.
According to Bankrate, the median square footage of the average house in the United States is about 2,200 square feet. Now, assuming these are all single-story homes and sprawled out over the widest area possible, that's about 19 houses worth of space in an acre. Now that you have an idea of how big an acre is and how many houses it can fit, in
1 acre, 20 homes. Got it.
2025, less than 1 month into the year, Los Angeles alone has already lost 35,866 acres. That's 1.5 billion square feet, equivalent to over 27,102 football fields. So the question is, how did it happen?
Or soccer fields.
And it all started due to a series of high winds of over 100 miles per hour, which started a chain reaction of fires across 7 different counties, including the Palisades, which covered over 31 square miles, destroying thousands of structures. The Eaton fire, which started in North LA County. There's the Kenneth fire.
It hurts my heart seeing all these animals, the horses, and I can't even imagine like the little squirrels or little rodents that are just like bush animals that live out in the bush, like...
which ignited in the woodland.
So much death.
Hills neighborhood of LA, the Hearst and Lydia fires, which also burned hundreds and hundreds of acres, and then there's the Sunset Fire, which started in Hollywood Hills, and the Woodley Fire. There's entire neighborhoods in LA County that are under evacuation orders. So the question is then, how did we get here? And why does it keep on happening? Now, before this happened, the leadership of California was warned that something like this could happen.
So what did they do? They emptied the water reserves and they cut the actual manpower to help clear out a lot of the dead brush.
With thousands of acres and billions of dollars every year. It's the same thing every year. And they don't want to clean up their forests because they have environmental problems in cleaning it up. It should be the opposite, because you're going to lose your forest. You'll lose it. But it's costing our country hundreds of billions of dollars because of incompetence in California.
So they were given simple instructions
DEI,
of what
baby.
to do and how to potentially lower the risk of something like this happening.
No, this is going to be a prime example. We're going to use this as an unfortunate part of history to be like, look, DEI on paper sounds real nice. But when you put it into practice, it all falls apart. The people who should be in positions of power and leadership should be the ones who have earned it through merit and are the ones who are leading in that field.
Clean up dead leaves and other flammable debris. These planned burns can actually help maintain forests by making the fires less intense and easier to control by burning out all the dry fuel for a future fire. Now, unfortunately, California has a really strict environmental policy that doesn't allow this to happen at the proper scale. So the warnings were ignored, and instead, 7 months before the fires started, the mayor signed a $17 million budget cut to the Los Angeles Fire Department that the
right before fire season. Why?
police chief said hugely affected their ability to fight these fires.
Let me be clear.
Yeah. You lost almost $18 million. That's a lot of dollars that can go towards fixing a problem.
$17 million budget cut and the elimination of our civilian positions like our mechanics did and has and will continue to severely impact our ability to repair our apparatus.
As a result of that, the LAFD canceled their yearly fire hydrant testing due to, quote, fiscal challenges. And to make things worse, when the city needed it most, there was no water coming out of the fire hydrants.
We saw an apartment building engulfed in flames. I saw the fire engine pull up this afternoon, a fire captain have one of his firefighters attach a hose to a hydrant, and that hose didn't fill up, Alex. And I asked the captain, out of every 10 hydrants you attach to today, on average, how many are you getting full water from? He says little to none.
So there wasn't enough water
Holy
to pressurize
shit.
all the fire hydrants, and
Holy shit.
people have lost their homes, their loved ones, and some people have lost their lives. And now, understandably,
Yeah, Governor Newsom and all of these people who are in charge, the mayor should be thrown in prison and you get one meal of rotted, moldy bread for the rest of your life. Holy shit. And then maybe on a good day, you can have like some dirty rice.
people are angry, they're upset, and they want answers.
If it is true that things were handled this way, if it is
It's Governor Newsom, Newsom. Like this is his name, but I'm saying new scum. That's what Trump calls him. Trump calls him Governor Newsom.
it's true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management.
Yeah, let's hear that again.
True that things were handled this way. If it is true that Gavin Newsom is the absolute blithering idiot that I believe he is in the way he has handled fire management in this.
No, it's okay. Every single American that can do critical level, some critical thinking, which isn't too many of us, but everyone that can, all can agree that he's an idiot.
State again and again.
Sounds like a
and again
nuisance?
and again.
He's terrible.
This isn't a wake-up
Terrible.
call. This is the kind of thing they have tribunals for, where they try
Yeah.
people and say, you had an oath of office to perform certain duties. When you're the fire chief, this isn't a social justice exercise that you're in charge of. This is you getting water to areas that need water because there are fires in 100-mile-an-hour winds burning houses to the ground.
And this is what happens when you make life-changing decisions based off numbers on a spreadsheet and have to apply by DEI and certain woke ideals. This is what happens. Once more, they need to be held on what I would deem as the most non-lethal form of a public execution as possible. Be made out to come out in your bare underwear, on your knees, made out as an example, and guess what? You're going to Azkaban for the rest of your life. And like I said, the dirty rice, that's a good day. The other days, you're just getting black mold in a cup. And when you die, guess what? We don't give a fuck.
Now, one of the most common questions I saw is, why doesn't California...
One thing about an American, man, we love our country, we love our community, and when you are put in a position of leadership and you completely disregard and abandon your community and its safety, oh, brother, we're going medieval on your ass.
California use all the water it has access to put the fires out? Is it really because LA is running out of water? How's that possible, right? It's next to the ocean. And the answer is a failing infrastructure and a failure of priorities. And here's an example. At one point in time, California had a lot more water. In fact, California once had a lake at the center of the state called Lake Corcoran, which was an ancient lake formed by rainfall and melting glaciers 600,000 years ago. Now, eventually, the lake reached a critical level, and it formed channelways where the water drained out into the Pacific Ocean.
Well, that's a problem.
And what was left of the water became known as Lake Talar. At one point, it was the biggest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi River and the sixth biggest lake in the United States. The California Central Valley flourished and everyone was happy, but over time, less rainfall and human intervention changed a lot of things. Because as California grew, farmers started to drain the lake to irrigate or water their fields. The government also funded massive dam and canal projects to divert the lake's water, which ultimately caused Lake Talar to disappear by the early 20th century.
Wow.
And that decision came at a cost. And the cost was that it led to soil salinization, which threatened a long-term farming ability because...
What this basically means is it's sanitizing the soil, so it's stripping of it all of its little nutrients to grow different crops. And it's also a terrible byproduct of monocrop agriculture, which a lot of vegans are supposedly in favor for, but it's killing the land and killing the wildlife that's there as well.
Farmers can't grow.
CNN is like The Wire in India. I bet you if you look at CNN, who owns CNN and The Wire, I bet you it's going to be under the same shell company.
Healthy crops on bad soil. And the loss of the lake disrupted the local ecosystem. And now, I think that mismanagement of the ecosystem over the course of 100 years and draining the lake left a scar and their ability to make policy decisions today. Because California became hyper-aware about protecting its environment and its ecosystems. And I think that sensitivity is reflected in a lot of California's modern policy.
Guys, I'm not going to lie, this is going to sound like a crazy flex, but I got more views than CNN in the month of December than they did.
Policies like the controversial Delta
CNN is dead. CNN is no longer the thing that it was 4 years ago.
Smelt that you probably heard
CNN for the month of December, I think, got like 1 million views, and we got 1.2.
Now, the Delta smelt is a 3-inch silvery blue fish that lives in the San Francisco Bay and the San Joaquin Delta, and it's been at the center of this water controversy. The fish's declining population is protected under what's called the Endangered Species Act, which mandates that some specific amount of fresh water flow through the delta to keep that fish content. Now, this policy means that water that could be diverted and used for farmers and firefighters is instead used to sustain the smelt and its ecosystem. And while some people say it's not about protecting the fish, it's just that the fish's declining population is a sign of the declining health of the ecosystem, that's what people are ultimately debating. Are we protecting a fish whose importance we don't really fully understand, or should we prioritize practical needs like people's homes and lives?
That's a hard one. I mean, it's the way he's wording that is it's an obvious you protect the human and the lives, but also at the same time, I believe as humans of Earth, I think we're kind of stewards of this planet, right? And keeping life and helping life thrive, even if we don't deem it as to be as important as our own, I think is an important thing to do. So I don't want to get rid of this fish, right? I don't think the answer is keep fish, so no water in California, or water in California, fish die. I don't think it's that simple of an answer.
And this is an example of
or simple of a choice. Like, I think the way he proposed that was a little manipulative.
failure of priority. But
Are
another
we protecting the fish to eat it? No, that's not. It's a non-edible fish. It's like a little 3-inch fish that presumably is useless.
example is California's very old infrastructure.
People dying to a political agenda is way worse. I totally agree. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't think that providing California with an adequate amount of water necessarily means that this fish has to die. I think there's other ways to like solve this problem.
Because a lot of it was built in the early 20th century, and it hasn't kept up with the state's population growth, which has ballooned from around 10 million people in the 1950s to nearly 40 million people today.
I'm also this is going to be putting my big conspiracy hat on, but this is going to be bringing up in North Carolina. We had a crazy monsoon that you guys were talking about, crazy waterfall, crazy hurricane that destroyed North Carolina, and the government almost seemed like it was doing more to prevent people to come in to help than the government coming in and helping clean up the mess. And you look at North Carolina where it's hit, you're like, yo, why is the government trying to go in there and now scoop up all this land? Oh, it's because underneath that land is a bunch of lithium, a bunch of actual minerals that they would need that is deemed valuable. And you're like, that's kind of crazy. Well, that can't be going on in California, right? Well, in 2028 to 2030, the city of Los Angeles wants to create its first smart city, like the Gift City or the Dora over in India. Now this is happening, and they're just doing a one-time payment of $770. It's like the government is actively going in there and trying to buy up as much land and not allow the civilians to own the land, but instead it become public land, which is, or excuse me, it's going to become government land, not public land, which is just going to make it worse for inflation, for housing, and everything else. It's like the idea of you will own nothing and you will be happy from the World Economic Forum and the World Organization. It's just scary. And it's like happening right before our eyes. And I don't know, it's like, I don't know if it is, but there's so many signs of it being that. It's like, man, if it walks like a duck, if it sounds like a duck, if it flaps like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck.
California has a reservoir storage capacity of about 42 million acre-feet.
Yeah, even if a bee disappears, then we are doomed. I'm not kidding you. Absolutely. But that's once more what I was talking about, and the idea of, like, as humans, we are kind of stewards of this earth. And sometimes that does mean controlling overpopulation by going in there and manually cutting some of that down, right? Or maybe even the cycle of life, because people don't like when people eat meat because it means that you have to kill an animal. It's like, okay, well, if you let the animal live for eternity, its teeth are gonna fall out and it's gonna starve to death. Which one is a better death? The one that's instant and that it never even feels and never knows, or the one where it's starving to death and it can't even eat?
But during peak rainfall years,
I think it's up to humans to kind of be the stewards and sometimes do the task that's not easy to do, but needs to be done for nature to survive.
State loses over 10 million acre-feet.
I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm a nature guy. I like nature.
Limited storage and outdated systems. The Central Valley irrigation system alone sees up to 30%.
I could be a little
loss
too
due
hippie
to
with that, though. I get it.
And inefficiency. And the fire hydrants weren't designed to fight fires that consume hundreds of homes at the same time. We could probably engineer some, but the ones we have today were not designed to do that. That's how unprepared the system is for modern times. So there needs to be a better balance of priorities, because today, California's policies are shaped by its past and not its future. And it's just as true for its environment as it is for home insurance and how much people are going to end up paying for it.
This is actually
Beyond the
insane. This
tragic
part's
destruction,
insane.
There is another crisis, which is what people are going to pay per month for their home insurance.
Yeah.
That's because
And also, hold on.
in response to these fires, a lot of the insurance companies are pulling out of California.
Yep.
Since
Well, they also did. A few months before this, they canceled fire policies, and it's mostly because the government would not allow these insurance companies not to raise rates. So people see that and they're like, "Oh, that's a good thing. You're forcing the insurance companies not to raise rates. That's a good thing, right?" Well, the insurance company said, "Okay, cool. We just won't do business in the state." So now you have forced these people to not have insurance for their homes, which is going to put them completely out of pocket.
2019, more than 100,000 Californians have lost their insurance. State Farm, for example, just recently canceled 72,000 policies in California, including 30,000 for homes. And other major insurance companies like Allstate have stopped offering new policies in high-risk areas.
Which, as a business, you have to understand that these insurance companies are a business. And are they a scummy business? Yes. Do people like insurance companies? No. But in this case, this is why you have it. The insurance is like a policy that you pay that you hope you never have to use. But when you do use it, it's a very expensive hit for the insurance company, and it's not so much for you. So in these areas where they're like, yo, it's about to burn the hell down and we're going to have to be out of pocket for it, you're not going to let us charge more so we can cover this? We can't physically be here to do business. Peace.
I had my own home insurance policy get canceled because of the fires that happened last year. And I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I learned that when insurance companies have to pay billions in payouts year after year, they're left with two choices.
Pay
Either
more?
withdraw from the market or raise premiums significantly across the entire country. Now for California homeowners,
people don't like to hear it because they think insurance companies, they just think, oh, I'm paying $300 a month for my car insurance and I've never had to use it. And they're making all of this money hand over fist. But it's like every time you drive down the road and you see a car accident, understand that you're kind of paying for that insurance, which as a community, as a civilized society, don't you want to take care of each other? Yes. So we pay into this socialist program, just like with firefighters, just like with police officers and all of this. That's a tax-paid thing. That's a social program that we pay into. Insurance is just the same thing, but a private version of it, a privatized version of it.
this means they have to turn to a catastrophic insurance plan. And that option is called the California Fair Plan. It serves as the last resort, and it's designed for high-risk homeowners, and it's not the ideal plan to have because the monthly payment on those plans, or premiums as they're called, are way higher, with some estimates saying that it costs twice as much as standard insurance policies, and their coverage is limited. A lot of times, the FAIR plan leaves out liability protection, or it only gives partial coverage for rebuilding costs.
Isn't that ironic, too, that they called it the FAIR plan as well?
So even if someone is covered, they may not be reimbursed for the full amount that it costs to rebuild their home at current value. And because of California's strict environmental and housing policies, that means all these homes can't be rebuilt the way they were before, because these restrictions are a lot tighter today than they were when those homes were built.
And this just makes it harder. Like it makes anything in California hard to do, and I don't understand why the government wants things to be hard. It should be as easy for Americans to come in here, set up a shop, build up a home, and thrive. And California, which has the most people, it's the most beautiful state with the most amount of money, it just shows that it can all go to shit so quickly.
And this has created a housing market where a lot of California's wealth and the property taxes tied to it are now at risk of pulling out of LA. And that's because when wealthier neighborhoods face constant destruction and rising insurance costs and bureaucracy that won't allow them to rebuild their homes to the way they were before, families are incentivized to leave. And this creates a ripple effect. Property tax revenues go down, and that means schools make less money gets spent on infrastructure, public services and insurance gets affected.
Isn't California blue? Yes.
Which puts even more financial pressure on the city. Analysts predict that homeowners in California could see their insurance costs go up by up to 40% on average. And this crisis is not just affecting people living in California, it's a warning sign for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
States like Florida, Texas, and Colorado are...
Well, all of these places, too, are areas that have crazy weather. Oklahoma as well, with tornadoes and everything. Like, if you live in an area that has a lot of crazy, storms, and just Mother Nature comes in and fucks shit up, California is going to be the example that all of your insurance is about to go skyrocketing, or you may lose your insurance altogether.
Already seeing the same trends, with insurance costs going up because insurance companies want to stay ahead. They're not going to wait for more disasters to raise their premiums. So if your insurance rate goes up or your policy gets canceled, this could be the potential reason why. Now, hopefully this is a wake-up call to look at the problems of California and its leadership and the need for a national conversation about loosening regulations and letting people build again.
Legitimately.
If you're a homeowner, Simple things like creating fire-resistant landscaping, using non-flammable materials, and installing ember-resistant vents can lower a home's risk and potentially lower your premiums. But the truth is, there really isn't much people can do against the brute force of nature. The one thing
there's nothing we can do.
Can do, though, is take the time to review your insurance policy, including deductibles, exclusions,
this is good advice.
coverage limits, just to make sure you're protected. Now,
the issue is, though, if you go to pick up your insurance program and you go to read through all of it, it's in like legal mumbo jumbo that you just don't understand. Even if you do go to college and graduate, you're like, I can't understand this jargon that's being thrown at me. And imagine being a citizen of California who is in a coma. Yeah, imagine. You're in the year 2000, you go to sleep, and you wake up at 2025. You're like, why is my state on fire? Why is Hollywood just filled with a bunch of pedo? If you're picking up what I'm putting down, then please like the video, subscribe, and if you really like it, then share it with some of your friends. My goal here is to spread a positive message while sprinkling my 2 cents on big topics like American Indian and world geopolitics. And even small stuff like Twitch drama and online debacles. And if you want to see it live, come join me over on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ActuallyElrod. That's where I'm going to do all my reactions. And after the reactions, that's where we get down a game. And if you're like, hey, I have a video that I want this dude to sprinkle his 2 cents on, then come over on my Discord and let me know and join the community there. And while we're at it, I have to say thank you to everybody who has made that Discord just so poppin'. I never thought I'd have a Discord that's so flowing. It's really cool to see. Shout out to you, Bobby, Omni, Demon, all of you who have been in there who are just super active. Logie, you're the man. Logie is the one who's like modding and helping run the server, so thank you, Logie. Lastly, I challenge you. I have a challenge for you. Make somebody laugh today. We all know there's enough hate and vitriol in the world. If energy is contagious like the flu, then let's spread and get everyone contagious with our positive energy, right? Not negative energy, because there's so much of that. And if we could just be a small little change in someone's day, then you never know. Maybe that's the thing that starts shifting this world to a happier, healthier, just better place. And with all of that said and done, thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.